Looks like we're in the middle of nowhere. And truth be told, we kinda are. But at one point, this town, Bodie, was booming. Let's go check it out. This is a dream come true. We're up here at Bodie State Historic Park. Ranger Jackson, tell me about Bodie Historic State Park.
So Bodie State Historic Park is located about 8 miles south of Bridgeport, California, which is about an hour north of Mammoth, California.
And how long off the road to actually get here to the middle of nowhere?
So we're 13 miles off of Highway 395. However, those 13 miles are very windy and the last 3 are almost all dirt.
And is it open all year round?
The park is open year round. Our hours do change, but we do not plow the road to get into the park. So in winter months, whenever we're inundated in snow, it can be difficult to get in. So people do ski in, they do take snowmobiles in, but typically you cannot drive in the winter. So in 1859, Bodie actually came up here with several other prospectors. Their goal was to find gold following a seasonal creek up the backside of this bluff right up here. Once he came up here, they found a large quartz ledge and they struck their claim. Bodie ended up passing away that winter, so he never saw the town that was named after him. But that quartz actually did show a large deposit. So in 1877, there was a large cave-in and it showed a massive vein of ore, and that's really what started the boom.
When people come here to Bodie, what are the first comments or what do they notice right off the bat?
I would say in general, people are surprised by how many buildings are here. Normally you think of the town of a ghost town, 3 or 4 buildings max, and we have close to 200 structures here in town.
What's this?
This is the church. So this is actually the Methodist Church. This was completed in 1882. And there's actually a second church, which is a Roman Catholic church, but unfortunately that burned down in the 1932 fire. So this is all original. What we do is called arrested decay. And so whenever the state acquired the park in 1962, we agreed that we would not revamp it. We didn't want this to turn into a Disneyland style resort. And so with that came making sure everything stayed the exact same way. So we do our best to look at our pictures from 1962 and upkeep the buildings to that standard.
The other thing I'm curious about, you said there's so many structures here, and obviously when we look around, there's a lot of buildings here. Did everybody just leave and it's like, okay, we're done, we're out, let's go?
So for the most part, it was kind of a slow trickle, other than that 1882 exodus. That people literally did just get up and leave. But a lot of them were living in boarding houses, they were living in hotels. The miners were making a ridiculous amount of money for that time period. Wow. So with that, they were basically paying for a bed just for the night, and that would include all of their food as well. They'd be making about $4 a day. The lodging was about $2 for all of their food, which left them $2 to send home to their family.
Can we go in this
Absolutely.
building?
This is the Miller House, and it's open year round.
All right, let's check it out. We're in the Miller home, Miller House?
Miller House. Yeah,
Okay.
We do our best to try and look at the buildings and look at the history behind who actually lived here. And for the most part, the last resident or the most famous resident then gets the name of the house.
Wow, so I mean, in terms of, you know, that whole comparing homes today versus how they were back then, wow, really get a perspective. Pretty small home.
Absolutely, yeah. So there are a couple of additional rooms in the back, and they kind of have some artifacts. You can also look in several of the buildings and you'll see different stages of wallpaper. There's some that have almost 10 layers where they just stacked it on top of it. And you can tell the difference in material. Originally, it was utilized with a almost plasticky rug underneath it, which actually helped insulate a lot of these buildings. So this is basically a couple of pictures of what happened to the town due to fire. So you can see the town here in the middle of the boom, so that's 79.
Wow,
and
1879. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of buildings.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was a bustling commodity. I mean, there were over 200 restaurants here in town. This is a picture right before a major fire, which is 1931. That last picture is once the state has acquired it, and we acquired the park in 1962.
So currently you have about 200 buildings that are standing. At one point, considerably more.
Absolutely, yeah. So we believe there are close to 2,000 buildings.
How many buildings can people come in and actually go through?
So there's 2 buildings that we allow people to go inside of. There are additional tours that are special, and we also have the Stamp Mill tour, which is ran throughout the year. And for those Stamp Mill tours, you basically have an hour to learn about the mining from that time period, as well as the mine process. There's some really cool artifacts inside of those buildings.
Can we make our way over that?
Absolutely.
Right, let's go check it out, man. Hey, by the way, I noticed numbers in front of a lot of these buildings. What's with the numbers?
Absolutely. So we actually have a walking guided tour book.
Oh, we don't all get you?
I wish. If only there was enough time. So with this tour book, it essentially has a number associated with the name of the building, as well as what happened in that building or who was living there and why it's important in history.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so all of that money goes straight back to our foundation, which then pours money back into the park to help repair things.
I marvel at the fact that gold was found, let alone found sometimes in the middle of seemingly nowhere.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of our biggest questions is why did they choose here of all places? They originally were mining off of a small seasonal creek off the backside of the bluff, and they were finding gold just panning there. They decided to follow that up, and that's really what led them up here to the bluff. And then finding that large quartz ledge is a huge indicator for gold, for hard rock mining. And that's what really caused them to choose this area.
Wow. And Bodie himself never got to see it play out.
No, so he actually was going to come back up here with Black Taylor, who was one of the miners who he started the claim with.
Yeah.
The whole group originally said, it's the fall, we'll wait until the spring to come back up here and mine. Instead, Black Taylor and Bodie decided to come up here just to check on their mining claim in the middle of winter. So they get hit by one of the biggest blizzards of the entire year, and Bodie became too tired to continue. And then Black Taylor said, the one thing you never want to hear, I'll come back for you. Black Taylor ended up coming up. They had a small shack. He warmed up, and he found Bodie 4 months later once all the snow melted.
Bummer.
Yeah.
So he didn't get to see if gold was actually found, and he didn't get to see the town, which is named after him.
So right now we're in the concentration room. So this is the base of the stamp mill, and this is the final part of the process.
Sorry.
Right? So the reason that we have this in this room is actually to show how these shaker tables would work. So once all the process is done, just to get that little bit of gold out afterwards, these tables would work just like a gold pan is. And so they would shake in 2 different directions, having your heavier material or your gold fall off into your slough pan, and then all the waste material would have gone off and then been disposed of.
Wow, this is a huge building, so they must have been processing a lot of material.
Absolutely. So they were going through tons and tons of ore every single day. So a stamp mill is taking rock or ore, for the most part, it's quartz in our case, that has gold throughout it. Those stamps, the quartz goes down, the stamps sit in a box. We actually have a little diagram right here behind us.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so these stamps would go up and down, and they would crush that ore up until you have something that's even finer than sand. There we go.
There we go.
Spin that guy right there.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So yeah, so basically each one of these would have gone up, and it takes the stamps up and down, and it would crush up that ore.
Wow. Okay, so it's just basically a big, like a piston hitting down, breaking up everything, coming down here, and
90 times a minute would have been the operating speed. So for each one of those weighing 1,000 pounds, and this is a 20 stamp mill, I mean, you have 20,000 pounds hitting the ground over and over and over again.
hard to imagine, but wow.
Absolutely.
Deafening, like you said.
Yeah.
Wow. So this part of the tour, although it's closed off today, it is open for people to come explore when?
Basically just during the tours. There are very sensitive as well as dangerous areas here, so you need to make sure you have a guide with you when you come into this area. So this is where everything was happening. So the stamps sit inside of those mortar boxes.
Yeah.
And so each mortar box would hold about 5 stamps. So you would have ore coming down the back side. They're crushing, and you have a screen to make sure none of that silt would be coming out. You then add water to it, and they come down these amalgamation tables. So these tables would have had copper plates over the entire thing. And then one lucky individual got to take mercury and then spread mercury all the way across these copper tables. That silt then flows over it, and the gold is attracted to that mercury, and you get what's called an amalgam. You then scrape that off, throw it into the safe, you burn off the mercury, and you're left with gold.
Oh my gosh, wow. And I love that stamps are exactly what they sound. They're stamping.
They're just hitting the ground.
Hitting the ground. Wow.
So
this is so cool. So what are we getting a snapshot into right now?
So this is the schoolhouse. So the schoolhouse was actually here from that 1877 period, and there was over 640 students enrolled here.
It seems like it's pretty well preserved in here.
Yeah, so again, no one is allowed inside of these buildings. It's only special photo workshops, which you can arrange through our foundation. We don't even offer tours of these areas.
Okay.
So we are very, very careful with our artifacts, particularly with the dust, because it hasn't been disturbed for over 60 years.
That is crazy. Ranger Jackson, we talk about a ghost town. What are we referring to?
So a ghost town is actually just an abandoned Old West town. It has nothing to do with any supernatural beings. It strictly has to do with the fact that there's no people that live here.
I'm curious, what is your favorite place? I mean, you obviously live here. What's your favorite place?
I really like the San Leon bar. It's the building just over there with the old green
Can we go check it
tar
out?
paper. Absolutely.
The old green what?
Tar paper. It's just on the front. So they basically use it as a way to make it look uppity. Imagine like a wallpaper for the outside of your house.
We have a roulette table.
There is a roulette table.
Looks like some gambling happening here, huh?
Exactly. We also have an old school slot machine. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So, and if you can look real far in the back, there's this Tullamore Dew bottle, but that's actually a card table where they would have played poker. And those ridges and this dust is actually old cards that have shriveled up.
What building are we in right now?
This is the Miners Union Hall, but we've transformed it into our museum. So basically, Ella Kane, so she was, I believe, the daughter of J.S. Kane. I might be wrong on that, but regardless, she's a member of the Kane family. She went through in the 30s and collected all of the artifacts that she thought were really important. And so she created this collection. So this is here way before the state was.
How did it stay so well preserved when obviously the town of Bodie went through such a transition?
So with the Kane family mostly purchasing up all the plots as people left, they actually hired a armed gunman to protect the town 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let someone like you, maybe?
Almost like me, yeah. I think I've had a little bit more training, I would like to think. But basically, they really took it upon themselves to try and protect the town the best they could.
These carriages that are behind us, were they actually here or were they brought in?
They were here, for sure. So these are actually hearses that were used during that time period.
I call them carriages. They were a carriage of a different kind. Huh?
Yeah, they were a sad carriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Flags on the walls and everything I'm seeing in here, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is all original. We didn't get to go antiquing and bring things in. This is all the material that was here originally.
Well, I gotta tell you, this has been an absolute dream. My family and I came out here about 12 years ago, and I always said, I want to come back here and film this place, and dream come true. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And we didn't even show you half of the buildings. This is awesome. Wow.
There's a lot to see, for sure. Almost every building has something worth checking out.
Man, this is cool. Bodie State Historic Park, only in our California.